All right, photography fans, welcome back to another episode of Amateur Photography. I'm Chris, the amateur photographer, Chris for Christ Publications. You know the drill. I want to thank you guys for liking, subscribing, tuning into the channel here. Definitely helps build the whole photography community we're going for, so we really appreciate you. Today's episode is just going to be something I've kind of touched on before. I just want to do a little bit of a gear review, an overview of what I have, what kind of accessories I'm using, and everything I have as far as research and the thought process behind that to try and be successful at photography. And hopefully I'll get there one day. This isn't going to be, advice or me telling you what exactly to buy, but just sort of the things I've learned and the things I recommend for anyone starting out. I just kind of came up with a list of things in order of importance, most important down to probably least important. We'll just kind of touch on that really quick. One thing I would recommend, and this goes for pretty much everything on the list, you have to know what type of photography you're going for. You have to know what you're looking at, what your focus is, what sort of creative pursuit you want. The reason for that is because knowing where you are, knowing what you want to achieve, knowing how to get to where you want to go and be successful, that's going to be half the battle. And when I say successful with photography, it's not just about making a lot of money and that kind of thing. Profit is only a result. Just having that focus, having that passion, and having that clear idea of where you want to be and what success looks like for you, what creative vision you want to share to the world, that's where success is. So just keep that in mind. I'm also a fiction author. There was a book actually that I read a bunch of years ago, really changed my life and my outlook. It was called The Fire in Fiction. And I'm going to kind of skip ahead and spoil it for you guys here. At the end of the book, the concluding chapters, it says that the fire in fiction comes from you. So your life experiences, your outlook, your perception, all that really factors in to make fiction stand out and make it be unique and be successful. I would absolutely say the same thing applies for photography too. The fire in photography, if you will, comes from you. So your outlook on life, your artistic ability and view and how you see the world and perceive things in life, that's all going to make your photography stand out. Of course, Chris for Christ Publications, so I am a Christian, so that is going to be reflected in a lot of my work, and as well it should, because that's how I view the world. So just have that in mind, have an idea who you are, have an idea of what you want to convey, and that'll save you a lot of time and probably a lot of money too. So first item on the list, we have, of course, cameras. If you want to be a photographer, you got to have a camera. This is where a lot of people kind of fall into the snares and kind of fall off the rails there, because you have so many options, so many things to choose from, so many things to consider. There's brand loyalty, noise all around you all the time. And, the further down the rabbit hole you get, the more options you have too. Do you want a crop sensor? Do you want a full frame? Do you want a kit lens, accessory pack, bundle, blah, blah, blah. So it's imperative to know what you need and what you're looking for. And also, I'd say photography is a passion for me. I tell everybody, let yourself fall in love with the camera. If you're familiar with the show here, you know that I have a Panasonic Lumix G7. Absolutely my baby. I'm not steering anybody towards any particular brand or model or anything, but based on what I've seen, this camera, as far as I'm concerned, is perfect for me. And I'm so glad I let myself branch out, explore, do the research, and really find something I'm going to fall in love with, because this is going to follow me the rest of my life. Barring any sort of unspeakable calamities, even after I upgrade, I'm probably going to keep this Lumix. This is my first camera and I love it. So give yourself that experience. Next up, you're going to want lenses too. There are probably just as many, if not more, lens options than there are camera options. And everything has to kind of fit together and play nice together and all this other stuff. So there's a huge amount of options to consider. A good rule of thumb for it, I'd recommend whatever you spend on your camera, budget at least half of that for lenses. I got my camera, $600 or so is what I paid for it. And as the weeks went on, after I got it and after I started playing around with it and adding lenses, I spent about half of that on lenses. So just kind of a good rule of thumb, so you know what you're getting into. If you have one of the fancier, higher end cameras, you can probably blow that budget just on one lens by itself. So just so you know what you're so you're aware of what you're looking at here. I'd recommend, if at all possible, work around cameras and lenses that are going to play well together, but if you can't, you can't. Don't let that limit you. Go for what's going to make sense, go for what's going to be right for you. Pro tip for you, if you can, I don't think any of the bigger stores do this, but smaller photography stores you may be able to rent your lens. So if there's a shot you want to take, a particular shot that you normally don't do, and you don't have the gear for it, see if you have a camera store nearby that'll let you rent the specific lens to take that shot. And then you can get all the shots you need at a fraction of the price. So, pro tip. And again, I kind of want to reiterate, knowing what you want to do as far as photography, what you're going to take pictures of, is going to be half the battle there. If you're just doing basic stuff, like you're taking pictures of the grass in your yard or something, any camera is going to work for you. You don't have to go one way or the other. If you're doing like Halloween themed weddings or whatever it is, you may have special features, special low light settings or anything like that. So keep in mind, those are what you're going to want to look for in connection with your camera. You're going to want something that can cater to those special needs, cameras and lenses, and pretty much everything else. I would say, kind of a little bit of advice I'm going to give out here. If you can only get one lens, I would recommend a prime lens if that's what your style is going to call for. The reason for that, the fixed focal length, great for portraiture, great for nature, two of the things I try and get into with photography, but also too, a prime lens will make you a little bit better at spotting those compositions, because you can't just zoom in and out. You have to physically move around your subject and study and shoot from different angles and kind of explore. So that's going to make you better in the end. Sort of a self-discipline technique I use for myself. If you're in a position where you can't or shouldn't get close to your subject, there's absolutely no shame in getting your zoom lens. Pop that on, zoom in, get the composition you need, zoom out. No shame in the game there. Look at your options there. You have a lot to choose from. The next point, I want to talk about memory cards. The reason I'm chuckling, when I first got my camera, I didn't actually know what type of memory card I needed. I didn't research that far, which is completely my fault. So I got the camera, I opened up the manual and kind of read through what they recommended. And okay, so then I ordered from there. The 2, 3, 4, something like that days I was waiting for my memory card to come in, I swear everything that I wanted to ever take a picture of happened in that time frame. I had birds like hovering outside my window, just like peeking in and, sitting there for a while, and haven't seen them since, but it's fun. Like give yourself what you need, and thankfully computer memory is cheap, so you can buy like a couple backups. So always have that on hand. Nothing more frustrating than spending a bunch of money for a specialized memory card of some kind, and then finding out it only takes like 100 pictures. So do yourself a favor, research it, get it all working together. The next one, camera bags. This is where that old saying, you get what you pay for, comes into effect pretty heavily. I grabbed this bag online, absolutely perfect for what I needed. But in the midst of researching it, being the cheap person that I am, I saw there was an option for about half the price. So I went that route instead. That came in the mail, take a look at it, opened up, played around with it. Yeah, it seemed okay, and I returned it the next day. I went back and brought this one, which is what I was originally looking at. I mean, this here, I don't even know if you can see the brand or anything, it's not important, but this will carry my camera, my lenses. I can even store a video camera. I have memory cards, cables, chargers, water bottle, tripods, all that I can keep in this thing. And it even has a slide in the back for my computer. So absolutely worth it. Completely worth the money. You get what you pay for, so spend a little bit extra for quality. If you're going to be taking your camera outside anywhere, if you're going anywhere outside the studio or a house or a room that you shoot in, it's absolutely worth it. Cannot recommend it highly enough. Do yourself a favor, get a comfortable, quality camera bag. Last item on the list here is going to be pretty much everything else. Anything else you want to use as far as accessories for your camera, and there's so many of them. You have your tripods, your stabilizers, remote flashes, lenses, lens covers, whatever it is. Prioritize based on what you're going to need so you don't end up hoarding a lot of junk. There are so many options. There's things that can make you more successful in photography. There's always things you can add on to it as you go, but definitely prioritize it. You don't want to just spend a ton of money on stuff and have no idea how to use it. So this is again where it comes back into figuring out what you need and how you're going to use it and what's going to make you most creative and most successful. But that's about it for the list. There are a couple things that I wanted to touch on as well. You're going to want to consider tech and you're going to want to consider software. Because we're in the age of digital photography, that's pretty much where everyone goes. You're going to need post-production work. I actually have two computers I use. It's kind of I wouldn't say coincidence or a happy accident, but definitely a blessing for what I'm using. One, I have just a basic 16-inch laptop model. Brand isn't important. I got it, like I said, as a Christmas gift. Has all the power I need, everything I want to do as far as post-production, but most important, it has a built-in card reader. So I can just pop the card out my camera, pop it into the computer, and off I go in editing. Wonderful. It's really convenient that way. The other computer I use is kind of a higher end model, so a lot of my other creative pursuits, video editing, all this other stuff I use on there. That one is nice to have. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, basically. If you have something you just want to do on the fly, do your basic editing, you can do it that way. Or if you want to really get involved, you have another option. You don't have to go that route. That's just kind of where I find myself. So that's pretty nice. As far as software, you're going to want to have that. You're going to want to know how to use that. There's two major players, both from the Adobe suite. You probably already know the names. They are the most popular, but they're also the most expensive. There's ongoing subscriptions you have to pay for, so a lot of costs involved there. I'm not here to push you one way or the other. I just want to let you know what options are available for you. If you want to go that route, that's perfectly fine. For me personally, for my lighter work, I use a program called Polar. They have a free version and they have a pro version that's actually really affordable. It's to the tune of something like 20 bucks for the year or something like that. If you have your basic editing, your retouching, and also all of your filters and creative effects, blurs and gradients, all that kind of stuff is in there too. So I would highly recommend that if you want to go the artsy route of things. That's the way I go. If I want to add anything special to a photo, then I'll look at Polar first. The other end of the spectrum, if I want to go the technical route, like really nitty gritty inside baseball kind of thing, I use the Affinity Photo program. Normally it's $50, but I caught it on special, so it's amazing because it's a one-time fee and you have all the technical ins and outs and details and the horsepower behind it that you usually need. Some of the Adobe suite options have comparable features. So Affinity Photo, like I said, really high rated, really well received, has pretty much everything that the Adobe suite's going to have. So worth taking a look. Again, the point here is that you do have options, so keep an eye out. That's going to wrap it up for me, guys. Just kind of a brief overview of where I'm at. I just wanted to share that. Let me know what you think. Let me know what kind of gear you're using, what kind of setup you have. If you're just getting started, if you've been piecing things together over time, I'd love to hear it. Drop a comment. Let's talk about it. And also, too, if you need any recommendations on things, if you need more information that I can provide and hopefully not steer you wrong, go ahead and ask. We're here for the questions as well, too. But other than that, this is Amateur Photography, Episode 4, Christopher Christ Publications, The Amateur Photographer. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next time.